Yeme architects first went to this building and had a look at what was a really powerful operation that was going on there, and the work that was being done in the community and the work that was being done in what was really a deprived area was really impressive. But when we looked at the building, we could see something that was really deprived, was in a really sort of difficult stage of its life. It was repurposed from an old pub building. It was on multiple levels. It wasn't designed for this use. And ultimately, it didn't reflect the aspirations that the organisations have for the people that used it, but even wider than the people that used it, it was the wider community. The entrance into the building has been really carefully designed, and all too often the entrance into mosques is just somewhere to take your shoes off and then go into a prayer hall. However, in this case, what we wanted to do was to create something that would create an introduction to not just Islam and the purpose of this building, but also a multifunction series of other things. So whether that's for gaming, or whether that's for cafes, or whether that's for reading, or it was a multifunction space. When you look up from the ground floor lobby, it's a double height space so that you don't feel that you're disappearing into a room at the top, but you can see that because it's double height. When you emerge at the top, you come into a library space with seating, with books, with a space that allows you to actually transition from outside the activity and animation of the main foyer, and then come into a quieter, softer space, which then helps you transition into the teaching spaces, and then that culminates into an open terrace area with a green space, which allows people to make that connection to nature. It has got a minaret. It's done in a way that is using fretwork, is using lighting, it is to illuminate, and it could change colours at the time of prayers and so on, so that there's that symbolism around the activity going on within, and this symbolism within the architecture, but also things like the windows where we've used arched fretwork, and we're using Islamic geometric patterns to create these relationships between the square rectangular windows and the Islamic language. So how we bring those two elements together by using complementary designs was a real key focus of how we approach the nature of the design. So we wanted the prayer space to be an experience, and that wasn't to be an experience just because of the way it was decorated, but how it made you feel. And for us, that meant us being able to really play with things like lighting and form and height, and how does the glazing create a viewpoint from both within and a directional position inside the prayer hall. So for us, in coming to the design, we were looking at really the direction of the Qibla, how that forms part of the design, how the lighting reinforces that, how the mood lighting creates an ambience that allows people to want to spend time there, feel calm and spiritual in that space, and can feel in a way that they can get close to God in their environment, whether it's busy or whether they're in there by themselves. The activity space is a key part of the building, which is designed to try and bring together people who are not necessarily using the building as a mosque, but use it as a community building, and really for this building to become the centre of the community. And to that end, having a facility that can be used for a range of different functions was a really key part of what we wanted to achieve. Having something where you could have events with catering, and where there could be things from fitness classes and so on and so forth being held in there within the overall building of being a religious building was a really key part of what we wanted to achieve. And the use of space has been very carefully dedicated to women, and so it hasn't been secondary spaces and subservient spaces, but actually parts of the main spaces have been dedicated for women, and that's really something that we want to be permanent use and not just occasional use, or not just at times when it's convenient and not being used by others. A building like this sets the benchmark for religious buildings. And when it's located in a place that is challenging, that has got deprivation, that does have issues around child poverty, child obesity and so on, then the aspiration set out in this building is something that is really powerful. And that's one of the reasons that we got involved, and one of the reasons why we ended up trying to make sure that we did something that was going to reflect the aspirations of not only the organisation itself, but lift the aspirations of the community that would experience things out in the wider community but don't necessarily experience that within the Islamic community. And for us, bringing that level of aspiration into their Islamic environment was a key consideration.